Man, TV has been pretty good these last couple of years. I would say, actually, since I'm going on season five of Yellowstone, I hear all the talk, and this is usually how the case when it comes to me reviewing shows or even just trying out a show. After Game of Thrones, it's kind of hard for me to really invest in a show because of everything can go complete crap at the very end of the series. But everybody was talking about Yellowstone, and I said, you know what? Let me give it a shot. Let me go 1 through 4 of the seasons. We're currently at this recording. They're currently halfway done with season 5. So I gave it a shot, man. I loaded up Peacock, the app, and then I said, you know what? Let's start with episode 1. And how do I describe Yellowstone? I would describe Yellowstone as this. If you are a Sons of Anarchy fan, and even though that has to deal with the outlaw motorcycle lifestyle, Yellowstone is pretty similar in a lot of its characters, especially Beth. A lot of the manipulation, a lot of politics going on, just like kind of like Game of Thrones. But if I had to categorize Yellowstone, it would be, of course, a Western mixed in with a little bit of Godfather, mixed in with a little bit of Sons of Anarchy, because that's how I absolutely feel, especially on the Sons of Anarchy front, because of a lot of the editing, a lot of the music use, and a lot of like the ending of episodes that are almost an hour long. The first episode was an hour and a half long. It was like a movie, and it got me hooked. I started binging the hell out of Yellowstone. I mean, I think it took me, I would say, almost a week to get through all 4 seasons, and then finally catch up to the 5th season. I won't talk too much about the 5th season. I know some things that happen. I have yet to. I kind of waiting for that to end so I could actually just watch that and then just probably review the 5th season. But I just really wanted to give my thoughts out on Yellowstone, how awesome it is. Of course, I think out of 1 through 4, I think the 4th season's the slowest one and not as good. Everybody's just been talking about this. Everybody's been talking about who they love, who they don't like, and we're going to cover that right now. The characters are what draws me into the show. Yeah, it has to draw you into the show because you're actually caring for a lot of characters that Yellowstone provides. And of course, the big guy is Kevin Costner. Kevin Costner plays John Dutton, and John is, he is everybody's bad in the show. Everybody does bad. Everybody, they really hammer it on your head how fair, is not really, that's no meaning to really kind of fair. Or the big thing is you could be a good man and do bad things. Doesn't mean you're not doesn't mean you're not a good man. It's just you're doing things that people would consider bad. So it's really the morality. It's really like the yin and yang, how there is no yin and yang. It's just living life honestly and doing what you need to do to either keep your family safe or just in general keep the ranch, keep Yellowstone going for all these years. It's all about family legacy as well. So John is just really, he's kind of the sheriff, man. He's that old school outlaw Western mafioso. If you think about it, he is a mafia type of guy. If he wasn't a cowboy, if he wasn't riding a horse, you would think this is the Godfather. You would think this is, Vito Corleone. He is doing things to keep his family, his ranch, continued throughout well past his lifetime. But it's kind of hard with a lot of things that you learn about the taxes and just overall the hardships of a rancher. So that's what I really am super intrigued. And I love Kevin Costner's demeanor and how he portrays this character. You could even say this might be just Kevin Costner. He has this nice little, he has his way of talking and giving advice. He is like this grandfather who is giving people advice or showing people the way of how he's done it since he was a kid and how his family's done it in the past. He has a lot of mannerisms when he talks too. He likes to like kind of suck on his lip, kind of bite his lip a little bit, or I want to say bite his lip, but he likes to, look down, shrug, and just kind of tell his 2 cents. And what I love about Yellowstone is a lot of these characters are very honest and they will tell you the truth. They will throw it at your face. Sometimes it's just little, sometimes it's way too far going over the line, but sometimes you need to hear what these guys got to say and they're telling the truth. And that's vice versa. Whoever they're going or battling against, both sides usually have a good point. That's what I love about this show is with Jon, there was I appreciate Jon and of course his love for his grandson. You see his love for his grandson Tate in the first couple seasons. It's kind of weird that they kind of differ off that later on, especially when there's going to be spoilers. So you've been warned from here on out. Spoilers when I'm just going to be jumping around a lot of the highlights of the seasons from 1 through 4. But when Jon gets shot and his whole family is being targeted, what was it, at the end of season 3? You don't really kind of see like where's Tate. You see him mentioning it, but like well after like 2 episodes. But the Jon relationship with his grandson, that is one of the core reasons why I got engaged in it, because he is this kind of strong, strict, and his wife died very early, and time and time again, the kids and Beth, of course, would say how much of a backbone she was and how it's hard for him to raise these kids just kind of by himself. So with Jon, it's such an intriguing sight to see the love he has with his grandson and the relationship he has with his kids, because oh my God, with his kids, these guys are a wild bunch, but he relies on them to sustain the Dutton legacy. I think one of the most interesting relationships, of course, is him and Jaime. Now, Jaime is I think everybody can agree, Jaime has been just put through the ringer, man. Like, it is super unnecessary for him to get treated the way he does, especially with Beth, even though we do know the whole circumstances why Beth hates Jaime so much. The reason why Jaime didn't give her the opportunity to become a mother. He just made the decision for her when he took her to the clinic and the sterilization and stuff. So you can understand why Beth's anger and her rage, and also having that same anger kind of mix in with how her mother treated her as well. But the way that Jaime just gets absolutely abused in this show from start, and then he starts gradually seeing him become somewhat the villain towards season 5, you still have that sense of like Jaime still got the short end of the stick. Jaime is the kind of lone wolf, is kind of the outcast. You would think it'd be Casey, but if you think about it, it's Jaime. And the reason that being, of course, is that he's not really a Dutton. That's not Jon's biological son. He just took him in, and that's what's like kind of in the way. That's kind of in the middle. That's what's there where Jon can't really truly love him. He loves Jaime, but he just really doesn't truly love him like he does his other kids, Casey, Beth, and of course his other son. I can't remember his name, but I think it was Jim or something like that. His other son, who died in the first episode, and that was a shame too. I really wanted to see him and see where that character goes, but they killed him off right from the get-go, and like they really had something for Jon to really just be sad about that first season, and it kind of sucks because I really want to see. I think that was kind of a little bit too early of a move to kill off maybe one of his sons, but I knew exactly that was going to happen either now or in the long run, and I think there's plenty of more deaths to come. So with Jaime and Jon's relationship, that is definitely one of the more intriguing aspects to it, because you understand why Jaime is doing the things he does, but then you understand why Jon is doing the things he does too. So there is moralities, different perspectives, but they both have a point. It's just the way they go about it that makes it good drama TV. Now, going on from Jaime to Beth and Jon's relationship, of course, she is probably the one that you see Jon just constantly saying, man, if you would have made a real good cowboy, because Beth would have been a fantastic male cowboy, but she's a fantastic woman as well, as when it comes to strong spirit, independence, and not taking no for an answer and doing what she needs to do to kind of just be Jon's number one. Even though that's his daughter, she is the one that has the balls out of the family. Now, she takes it way too far. She threatens Jaime. She threatens things that he loves. Like, she abuses. She downright is cruel in this show. So there is a teeter totter here. You understand where Beth is, and you understand her when she was growing up, and how her mother treated her, and the circumstance with her now not having be able to bear children. You get it. You get a lot of why Beth is so like she hates herself, why she's so full of rage. But then when you watch the show, you understand that this is just too much. She has, if you think about it, has been spoiled. John has spoiled her. John has never kind of been the one to really kind of raise his hand or stop Beth like he does with Jamie or even with Casey. He's the one that really kicked out Casey when he got what's your name pregnant. His wife's pregnant. I don't remember her name either. There's some characters in here that are just kind of bland, and they're there to just kind of help move the story along, but they're just not as memorable as the ones I am talking about. But going back to Beth is one of the most intriguing characters that I've seen in a while, and of course who I could really compare it to is Gemma from Sons of Anarchy. She is exactly kind of have that similar just boss attitude, but not only that, can manipulate people and could really get what she wants, yet be loving too, because you do love the relationship she has with Rip. Rip is probably one of my favorite characters, but we'll go on to him next. But Beth and Rip are a fantastic kind of weird dysfunctional couple, but they get each other. So you see that side of Beth, and you see the loving nature that she has for who Rip is not a biological son to John, but he is considered kind of a son. He's been on that ranch since he was a kid. So you see those two grow up, and well, he would have had a kid if Jamie didn't proceed with the operation in the clinic and lie to Beth. But Beth is such a monster, though, and I think she's the type of person that is self-destructive. So later on in the season, I'm here in season 5 too, is that somebody's going to survive and somebody's going to die. And that's either between Jamie or Beth. I don't think Casey you don't have to worry about Casey, but those two, it's a long time coming. It's a long black train, and somebody's going to go on that long black train, and it's either Jamie or it's Beth. Now, I will say also, Beth took in that one kid when she was with her dad at the hospital, who his father died, and she took him in. And she even, right from the get-go, told Rip that might be our son. That might be our adopted son. So Beth does have a heart. She has good intentions. She can be loving, but she could absolutely be hated. She could be just so cynical. She could be just absolutely evil at some points. But that's the best kind of characters, where they're bad people, and like the show really weighs in, but she has somewhat of a good heart. Except when it comes to Beth, it's more of the bad than the good. So you could even say that she's more of an evil person than a good person. And it's such intriguing and absolutely engaging entertainment when you see the things that she does, the way she does it, the way she handles it. I think the best example is when she did get attacked at her office, and she just took it. She talked crap to them. She really kicked ass in that scene. And the actress does a fantastic job. Everybody does a good job acting-wise in this show. So Beth as a character is such a huge part of the shows. Even if she were to die, I think it would lose a lot of the muster of the show, because Beth is one of the aspects that makes the show engaging and makes us want to continue watching. Now, Casey, her brother, the other hand, to me, he is kind of like the Jax Teller, a little bit more free thinking, doesn't want to follow his father's footsteps, yet kind of want to make his own, but yet he's still in that lifestyle of the Dutton Ranch, of being part of the Dutton kind of organization, if you want to call it that. So Casey is a very he's a good character. I don't think he's the most engaging character. I think he does a lot of things that are very entertaining. I think him going to being like kind of taking over where his John position was before he ran for governor. I think that's an interesting aspect. And the most interesting aspect, of course, is Casey siding more on Jamie's side, knowing that Beth is kind of poisoned in the well. Yeah, he's going to have to choose sides. He goes on that journey with that lone wolf, seeing the destruction of the family, and that absolutely has to do somewhat of Jamie and Beth's relationship. It has to culminate in that. But yet also knowing both sides, right? He knows the Native American side and he knows John's side. He knows the kind of the owning of the land. You know, the land used to be the Native Americans, but John's family took it over. So he has two perspectives. He has a wife who's Native American. He has a son who's half. So that's an interesting part of Casey. He's kind of like that Dancing with Wolves kind of character a little bit. And he's kind of like knows both sides. Yet he knows that the Dutton family, and he strongly kind of is with the Dutton family, even though he sees the evil surrounding it, the circumstances, the people who want to take that land from them. And it's such a very big message overall, especially with introducing a lot of Rainwater's character, his whole circumstance, the casino, all that, but his real motive to take all the land back for his people, including Yellowstone. You see Mo, his second in command, which I love Mo, man. And I think Mo and Casey, when they're together on the screen, it's really good chemistry and it's really good storytelling with the characters themselves, because they are in opposite sides, and Casey's going to be on John's side when it comes to the land and trying to fight for it. But you have Mo with Rainwater, but Mo understanding the honor that John and Casey and all of them have. They're not just any typical white man trying to just lay claim, this is our land for a reason. It's their land because it's it's the generations of Duttons, and he kind of understands basically the side of John, but of course he's going to still be with Rainwater, Mo, that is. So it's interesting. It's interesting when the Casey and the Mo relationship starts kind of growing. And one of my favorite scenes too is when Mo captures one of the people who organized the hit on John. And he tells his son, why does he get the beef, the roast beef? Because he's growing or whatever. And he takes the roast beef, gives his son the PB&J, and he gives the roast beef to one of the guys he has in the shed. So there's a lot of moments in the series with a lot of these characters, especially one of the characters, I can't remember his name, but he was trying to put like a hotel or something like on John's land as well, and he ends up being killed after killing two of the people who were trying to attack him, and then he comes out and he gets shot and he dies. There's so much like unexpected things happening through the show where they'll tell you to go this way, and then they go the complete opposite, but it's executed so well. I think the 1 through 3 seasons, season 3, it did teeter a little bit, but the 1 through 2 seasons were really so engaging. And then even the cowboy life, and one of the characters that I really love too is Jimmy. Like Jimmy, I absolutely hated in the beginning. Did not like Jimmy at all. But seeing what he became towards at the end of season 4 was magnificent. They did a really fantastic job of this lesser kind of character kind of blossom into a cowboy. And I just thought, and then even his relationships with Mia and the chick that he sees when he's in Texas. I thought that was great. And then just we want him to have a happy life because we've seen the struggle of Jimmy. There is some problems with the series though. There is moments where they'll have storylines that are going and they either drop them or they just really tie it in fast. I mean, with John being hit and John, his family getting taken out, that should have been a little bit more powerful storyline. It really felt like it was a lot of just like bouncing around. Didn't really seem like it had too much of a long linear story. There is the one where the stripper chick goes into the bunkhouse. Rip gets the stripper chick, takes her to the bunkhouse, and she, right from the get-go, you see her make eye contact with Casey. You think that's going to happen, especially when he's not with his wife. But then Jimmy has a thing for her, and then she just overall bounces and leaves. I don't know if the actress was busy or something like that. You do see her come back, but you just really saw them tie that loose end so quick with Casey just saying, her just straight up wanting to be with him, saying love at first sight. And Casey says, well, that's what I have for my wife. And they just left it, and that was it. there's just so many like storylines that you think are going to go a little bit longer, and they probably should have went a little bit longer, but they don't. They just really kind of scrap it. There's a lot of consequences that you think is going to come back and bite them in the ass, but it doesn't. The biggest consequences is going to be the bodies being dumped and where they dump it, and that's going to come and play later on. That's a big one, but there's like other things that when it has to do with the law or has to do with characters, getting something happened to them, and then it just kind of like figures itself out, but we don't see it. It's like figures itself out behind the scenes. So it's a little bit kind of everywhere sometimes. It's a little bit storylines and a lot of things in the show that they kind of really bring up. It doesn't sustain, or it should sustain. It just really kind of just disappears sometimes. But I'm not really too tripping out on that, because it's not the overall arc of this. The overall story of this is, John's land. What is going to happen towards the end of Yellowstone, the series? Like, is John going to be able to keep this land? So many times in the series, tell John that this is not going to work, that you have to take the deal, you have to take the money, get land somewhere else. This is not going to work out in the long run. And I think that's either the writer, the showrunner, telling you the end game, that even though we're following all these people, there's so much stuff that's kind of in the web that there's going to be a lot of heartache before there's any happiness, and there might not be any happiness at the end of the line anyway. That they're probably telling you over and over again that John is going to lose this land. After he's going to be the first out of all the generations, and either sometimes that could be a good thing or sometimes that's going to be a bad thing. It all depends on John, and all depends on his decision making, because either he's going to leave money for his grandchildren, Jamie has a kid. I don't know what's going to happen to Jamie, but he's either going to leave something behind, or he's going to just destroy everything. That's the main moral. That's the main message of the overall series. Now, it started becoming sloppy in season 4. I don't know how season 5 is just yet, but we need to see that lightning, that blaze that we did in season 1 and season 2. It's very hard for shows, especially when you keep going. I just hope the show doesn't continue to go, and knowing that it should have probably ended a couple seasons ago. I don't know how many seasons it has left, but I think this is a type of show that it's good for 7 seasons, and I think we call it a day, or 8 seasons at least, just to see. I just want to see the quality continue to get better, because I think season 4 was definitely a misstep, but I do still look forward to what's going to happen in the end game, and I hope the end game is worth all the wait. So before I move on, I have to take time to talk about my boy Rip. I love Rip, and when I found out he was the guy from Too Fast, Too Furious, Paparazzi, I was tripping out. He is, I think his name is Hauser. He is doing a fantastic job. He is such an engaging, such a well-written character. He is one of my favorite characters of all time when it comes to a television show. Hell, he could have been the main character, but it works out so well for him to be kind of one of the main characters, one of the side characters. And that's great, because it really reminds me of anime, where the main character could be cool, good protagonist, but we really do care about the side characters a little bit more. But they're doing their job as a side character, and you love them more because they're not getting all that screen time. Rip he gets a lot of screen time, but he doesn't. Sometimes there's an episode or here and there where he's barely in it. So they're doing a fantastic job with Rip, man. Rip is his overall story, and when he with his family, going to Dutton, bring him in, his relationship with Beth, his relationship with the boys, Jamie, Casey, his duty as being loyal to John and running the ranch, running the bunkhouse. I think one of my favorite moments in the overall series is a lot of the bunkhouse moments, with Teeter, with Jimmy, with Lloyd. Lloyd is one of my favorite side characters too. He's such a, 58 years old. He don't look 58. So all these guys, in the bunker too, having fun. It really feels like a kind of a brotherhood. And when they mark them with that Yellowstone, right there on the chest, it's such an intriguing show, and it really brings you in. And there's a lot of these characters you see yourself a little bit in them, even though, you see more of the kind of the good side. Like with Rip, you see how he understands Beth, understands her destruction, but yet still loves her. But then you see Rip and how he is considered maybe a bad man for murdering people on John's behalf, of sending them to, the long black train, especially his rivalry or his discuss a Walker. He doesn't like Walker whatsoever. He wants a murder Walker. But Rip does what he needs to do. He keeps the bunkhouse with strict rules. Like, Rip is hands down such a fantastic character and one of the best characters to come on the scene for a very, very long time. So I just wanted to talk about Yellowstone and how fantastic it is, and I can see why people are just absolutely loving it. I see the seasons kind of dip a little bit. I'm hoping it goes back up, but everything that they're doing so far has been good in my book. I hope that season 5 delivers a fantastic finale. That's what I like about the series, is a lot of their finales are really, really good. They leave it at wanting more. There's so much politics in this show. There's so much stabbing of the back. There's so much trump cards. There's so much Uno cards. There's so much reverse cards in this show that it keeps it engaging. It keeps it intriguing. But what we all come back for is absolutely the characters and what's going to happen at the end and what's going to happen to John Dutton and his family. So I want to thank you guys for listening. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, like the video. Comment below what your guys' thoughts on Yellowstone so far. Have you seen season 5? Are you still engaged? And who is your favorite character? Who is your favorite character in Yellowstone? So thank you guys. Dan America, I'm out here. Bye, guys. Yeehaw!